$1.1 trillion in AI tech spending, directly colliding with 18.4 million barrels of blocked oil per day. You are looking at the two massive, historic forces actively fighting for control of our global economy right now.
So let's dive into this explainer. We're looking at how an unprecedented AI infrastructure boom is acting as a massive structural counterweight to a historic geopolitical energy crisis in the Middle East. It's basically a clash of two very different worlds, and it's reshaping literally everything, from corporate earnings right down to the price of your everyday goods.
We're rapidly decoding this highly volatile K-shaped economy today, covering the dual-track economy, the Hormuz blockade, AI's trillion-dollar counterweight, divergent global markets, and finally, the productivity secret that's keeping the whole system afloat.
Part 1, the dual-track economy, a collision course.
We're looking at two massive extremes here. On one side, you have severe physical scarcity. Think a historic maritime energy crisis that is pushing nations right up to their absolute fiscal and operational limits. But then directly against that, you have digital abundance, an unprecedented capital investment cycle driving basically limitless productivity gains. The global economy is trapped right in the middle of this collision. Quick note before we break down the raw market data and the geopolitical fallout here, the information in this explainer is strictly for informational purposes. It doesn't constitute investment or financial advice, so always do your own research.
Moving on to Part 2, the Hormuz blockade, physical constraints.
The crucial thing to understand here is the rapid escalation. Following the February 28th U.S. and Israeli airstrikes and the assassination of Ali Khamenei, Iran immediately retaliated by closing the Strait of Hormuz to commercial shipping. Fast forward to May 18th, and this escalated into the formation of the Persian Gulf Strait Authority. They took sole regulatory authority over the waterway, a move that, as you'd expect, completely upended global supply chains.
Now, the raw data coming out of this blockade is just staggering. We're seeing 18.4 million barrels of oil blocked every single day. To put that into perspective, that's roughly 20% of the entire global oil supply offline. It's also hitting 110 billion cubic meters of liquefied natural gas trade. So unsurprisingly, this has driven Brent crude towards $110 a barrel, and we're even seeing warnings that oil could hit $150 a barrel in a worst-case scenario if this blockade persists.
Which brings us to Part 3, the AI trillion-dollar counterweight. Here is where things get wild. This massive energy shock, it's being offset by equally massive upward revisions in capital expenditures for the 5 largest U.S. tech hyperscalers: Amazon, Alphabet, Meta, Microsoft, and Oracle. Originally, they were projected to spend around $450 billion. Well, now they are expected to spend roughly $805 billion this year, and an extraordinary $1.16 trillion by 2027. The scale of this AI infrastructure build-out is literally unmatched in modern corporate history.
And hey, to stay consistently ahead of market-shifting data and complex macroeconomic shifts, exactly like this one, hit that subscribe button right now. We do the deep research so you don't have to.
All right, Part 4, Divergent Global Markets, the K-shaped economy.
So, while global growth remains seemingly steady, at around 3.3% according to the IMF, beneath the surface, it is a completely different story. Oil-importing regions like Europe and Asia are facing intense inflation risks, severe shipping cost spikes, and deep structural vulnerability. Meanwhile, the U.S. is projected to actually hit 2.25% real GDP growth. Why? Because it's heavily anchored and insulated by that relentless digital and infrastructure investment we just talked about.
But as highlighted by Goldman Sachs, investors absolutely must brace for intense volatility. The sticky inflation generated by this energy shock means central banks, like the Federal Reserve, are essentially forced to hold rates steady through the entirety of 2026. You're looking at a macroeconomic environment where the market has, in many ways, just run completely ahead of the physical economy.
And finally, Part 5, the productivity secret.
So how exactly does the global economy survive this massive dual-track collision without collapsing? Here's the secret. Step 1. Structural productivity gains from AI are fundamentally altering the landscape, potentially driving up to 75% of U.S. GDP growth. Step 2. This new productivity is actively insulating corporate earnings from raw material inflation. And Step 3. It's pushing the market to rotate and anchor firmly to high-quality defensive assets. The digital engine is quite literally pulling the physical anchor.
If there's one key takeaway you get from this explainer, make it this. 2026 is shifting away from pure tech euphoria and those old zero-interest rate narratives toward a sustainable reality.
It's an environment where AI fundamentals, tangible productivity gains, and disciplined valuations actually matter more than hype, especially when the physical world is experiencing such profound disruption.
Because at the end of the day, digital abundance can only grow as fast as the physical world allows it to. If you want to understand how this trillion-dollar AI infrastructure is actually being built in the physical world, click the thumbnail on your screen to watch our explainer on the 2026 data center boom. It perfectly connects the digital dollars to the concrete realities. Keep watching, keep learning.